17 seconds. That's all it took to shatter what was left of a fractured royal family. The video was grainy, shot without permission at a private Santa Barbara residence. But within hours of its anonymous upload to a niche parenting forum, it exploded across every corner of the internet. Two children, Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor, played beside an oversized branded product display. A voice, unmistakably Meghan Markle's, instructed them to wave to the people who care about your future. Behind the camera, a male voice, soft-spoken, presumed to be Prince Harry, chuckled awkwardly. The footage ended with little Lilibet holding a jar labeled Windsor Wellness, the name of Meghan's recently trademarked lifestyle line. Within hours, the video had amassed 12.7 million views. Today we're diving into one of the most explosive royal controversies in modern history. What started as a seemingly innocent family moment has ignited a constitutional crisis that's torn through Buckingham Palace like wildfire. This isn't just about a video. It's about two children caught in a battle between duty and celebrity, between a 1,000-year institution and a Hollywood-polished brand empire. These accounts come from palace insiders, royal correspondents, and official documents that reveal a story far more calculated than anyone imagined. The reaction from the royal family was immediate and unforgiving. 10:06 a.m. GMT, on December 28, 2025, Buckingham Palace issued something extraordinary. A rare, direct, and deeply emotional statement signed jointly by King Charles III and Prince William, now styled as the Prince Regent. The language was stripped of the usual diplomatic cushioning. It is with immense sadness that their Majesties address the recent unauthorized footage involving Master Archie and Miss Lilibet. These are royal children by blood, not brand. They are entitled to privacy, protection, and dignity, not to be used as pawns in a transatlantic negotiation. Never before had the monarchy publicly accused two members of the royal bloodline of monetizing their children's royal heritage, but this wasn't merely a slap on the wrist. The statement continued with language that made seasoned royal watchers gasp. Given continued efforts to position the children as instruments of leverage against this institution, and in consultation with our constitutional advisors, we affirm that Master Archie and Miss Lilibet shall not be granted standing roles, titles, or patronage within the British royal household. Let that sink in for a moment. The king and future king had just formally severed institutional ties with two of their own grandchildren and nephews. Behind the press office's curt statement lies a broader royal concern, one that's been brewing since early 2022 when Meghan began filing a flurry of intellectual property trademarks linked to her children's names. Among the applications, Lilibet & Co., Archie's Library, and Windsor Wellness. Sources within the palace's legal advisory committee say these filings prompted an internal investigation, resulting in a confidential report sent to King Charles in June 2023. The report, confirmed by multiple royal insiders, warned that there is a sustained risk that the Sussex children may be used directly or symbolically in negotiations, campaigns, or commercial content that leverages their blood connection to the crown. At the time, no public action was taken. The king, still hopeful for reconciliation, refused to strip the children of their titles despite mounting public pressure. That changed with the footage. What many people don't know is that the palace had been quietly monitoring Meghan's business activities for nearly 3 years, watching as a pattern emerged that palace lawyers described as narrative monetization of royal bloodline. The Royal Communications Office laid out 3 core institutional reasons for the palace's formal dissociation from Archie and Lilibet. First, violation of the Sovereign Image Clause from the 2021 revision, which states royal minors may not appear in media or branded materials linked to private enterprise without prior clearance. The video violated this clause. No permission had been granted. Second, breach of the Crown Affiliation Shield Protocol. The monarchy prohibits the public association of royal titles or bloodline with monetized products that may imply palace endorsement. Meghan's branded packaging featuring Lilibet constituted what palace lawyers called a critical breach. Third, and perhaps most damning, lack of confirmed royal custodianship. Both children reside full-time outside the UK, and since 2022, Meghan and Harry have repeatedly refused requests to allow royal-appointed representatives to visit or confirm the children's upbringing aligns with Crown values. According to a palace aide who spoke on condition of anonymity, the king and the Prince Regent agree that to allow the perception of royal endorsement by proximity is to undermine the constitutional neutrality of the monarchy. These children are innocent, but their guardians are not. But there's more to this story. The year was 2021. barely a month after Lilibet Diana's birth, when a sharp-eyed journalist at the time spotted something curious in U.S. trademark filings. California-based shell company, managed by a legal proxy of Meghan Markle, had registered a range of trademarks related to the name Lilibet & Co. among the registered categories: children's wellness products, organic bath soaps, plush toys, illustrated storybooks, and branded digital content. Days later, a similar filing followed for Archie's library, including licensing rights for educational streaming content, character-based merchandise, and a potential animated series. At the time, public reaction was mixed. Some viewed it as smart long-term planning. Others saw it as a harbinger of something far more calculated: the commodification of two royal children before they had even begun to walk. Palace insiders remember when these filings first crossed their desks. There was discomfort, but also hesitation. Nobody wanted to believe a mother would actually commercialize her own children, especially not children born into one of the world's most scrutinized families. But the pattern kept emerging. A confidential dossier compiled by the Royal Economic Ethics Council and submitted to the King in August 2024 contains this chilling excerpt. The children are at risk of becoming the emotional front for an emerging lifestyle empire rooted in a bloodline they are no longer institutionally connected to. This is not identity preservation. This is narrative monetization. What followed was a verified timeline that Palace investigators pieced together from public records and trademark filings. July 2021, filing for Lilibet & Co. under wellness and children's retail categories, registered in California, Delaware, and Ontario. January 2022, domain purchases for archieslibrary.com and lilibetdiaries.org, later redirected to blank holding pages with affiliate tracking codes. September 2023, filing for Windsor Wellness, a holistic wellness brand targeting modern families with royal values. Then came May 2024. Meghan submitted visual trademarks containing stylized versions of Lilibet's name alongside a rose crest eerily similar to the insignia used by Princess Diana's memorial charity. Palace lawyers noticed immediately. The symbolism wasn't subtle. These filings didn't exist in isolation. They appeared alongside a slow but steady rollout of curated content. Each appearance of the children in holiday cards, candlelit silhouettes, or beachside drone footage was now viewed by royal sources as strategically timed glimpses designed to build anticipation rather than offer authenticity. Meghan's defenders argue the trademarks are protective. She's safeguarding their future, one source close to the Duchess told People magazine. She knows how branding works. If she doesn't claim their names now, someone else will. The statement echoes Meghan's past warnings about brand poachers targeting the Sussexes after their royal exit in 2020. But internal Palace legal advisors pushed back hard on that narrative. Lord Rothmore, a retired constitutional attorney formerly attached to the Queen's Privy Council, put it bluntly: this is not about defensive IP protection. This is about laying the foundation for a multi-generational brand pipeline. No other royal minor in modern history has been pre-branded before their 5th birthday. He's right, no royal child, including George, Charlotte, or Louis, has had their names trademarked in the private sector. Even under Queen Elizabeth II's reign, such actions would have triggered formal letters of reprimand. Today, the Crown's silence was over. Accounts from palace staffers paint a picture of growing frustration. In a closed-door meeting at Windsor Castle on December 26, Prince William is reported to have expressed visible anger over what insiders called the Disneyland stunt and the branded merchandise captured in the viral footage. A palace staffer told royal correspondents. He slammed the report on the table and said, "Our children learn duty. Theirs are being taught to sell tea and hashtags." Meanwhile, King Charles III, ever the symbol of institutional caution, took a more sorrowful tone. According to an aide present during the morning security briefing on December 27, His Majesty said, "I wanted to believe she'd never commercialize the children. Now I must accept she already has." It was shortly after that meeting that Charles agreed to co-sign the historic severance statement with William, formally severing all standing links between the palace and the Sussex children moving forward. What stings the palace most isn't just the commerce, it's the pattern. Footage released close to royal milestones, subtle brand reveals buried in intimate family moments, and now thinly veiled threats of reputational damage if the crown continues to distance itself. To senior courtiers, it became crystal clear. Archie and Lilibet were no longer seen solely as children of royal descent. They were seen as instruments, crafted, shielded, and deployed in a media war. What began as a seemingly innocent family outing has now become a symbol of institutional rupture between the House of Windsor and its most estranged branch. The December 17, 2025 trip to Disneyland, California by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, accompanied by Archie and Lilibet, was not announced, not coordinated with royal liaison, and most alarmingly to palace officials, was documented through a stream of coordinated media leaks. By December 18th, 3 low-resolution photos, 2 edited videos, and an anonymous eyewitness account had appeared across entertainment blogs, Instagram fan accounts, and later syndicated on major outlets like TMZ and the Daily Mail. But what turned heads in the royal press corps wasn't the destination. It was the deliberate visual concealment and thematically branded behavior surrounding the children. In one widely shared image, Archie wore an oversized Mickey Mouse hat that fully obscured his face. A second photo showed Lilibet in a stroller hidden by a rose-patterned canopy, which matched the logo from Meghan's pending Windsor wellness line. On its own, the imagery might seem charming, quirky even. But according to palace insiders, the trip represented something else entirely. A calculated media maneuver designed to maintain the children's invisibility to preserve brand control, showcase family-oriented wholesomeness for audience relatability, and position Meghan and Harry as protective, loving parents in contrast to the cold institution they left behind. It wasn't a family day, it was a message, said one former royal press secretary, and the message was, we control the gaze. What many people don't know is that digital forensics analysts examined the footage that appeared online. They identified metadata anomalies in posts by alleged random tourists. The timestamps, filters, and even caption language across platforms suggested the content was pre-assembled and scheduled, not spontaneously uploaded. The phrase, let kids be kids, even if they're royal, appeared identically on 6 separate platforms. Emojis covered Archie's face in every instance, yet brand-consistent colors and slogans were present in the backgrounds. All uploads occurred within a 90-minute window, hinting at coordinated rollout. These digital breadcrumbs led royal advisors to conclude the trip was a soft reveal not of the children's faces, but of their commercial symbolism. On the evening of December 18th, after the media whirlwind intensified, Prince William convened an emergency image and ethics session at Clarence House with members of the Privy Council and the King's communications team. By the morning of December 19th, an internal memorandum labeled DL Risk Event Escalation had reached the desks of the Sovereign and Lord Chamberlain. The summary was scathing. The Disneyland incident demonstrates an emerging hybrid model. The Sussex children are being shielded physically, but used symbolically to generate press cycles, product alignment, and narrative positioning. This is not protection. It is strategic withholding. It is media engineering, and it now poses reputational risk to the institution. By December 20th, King Charles authorized a follow-up meeting with Lord Alderton, the royal legal secretary, to explore constitutional frameworks for distancing the crown from non-consensual symbolic deployment of royal bloodline minors. This set the stage for the public severance statement issued on December 28th. The significance of the Disneyland outing lies not in the location, but in the violation of Royal Code 342, introduced during the Queen's modernization reforms in 2016. It states, any use of royal descendants under the age of 18 in connection with commercial or political narratives, even if informal, shall be regarded as a breach of representational neutrality unless expressly cleared by the Lord Chamberlain's office. While the Sussexes formally stepped back from royal duties in January 2020, their children were still listed, at least symbolically, within the royal lineage. The Disneyland incident forced the palace to publicly erase that ambiguity. Prince Harry has made no statement since the incident. According to sources close to the palace, he was approached privately by King Charles via a confidential intermediary on December 21st, offering a chance for clarification before the formal statement was issued. Harry's response, reportedly delivered through legal counsel, was brief. We do not acknowledge your jurisdiction over our family's movement, imagery, or moral framework. Meghan, however, made a more subtle move. On December 22nd, she shared a cryptic post via the Archewell Foundation. As official account, an image of a child's hand holding a daisy with the caption, "Some flowers bloom quietly, some loudly, but they all bloom in their own time." Royal observers interpreted this as a veiled rebuke to the palace's escalation and a reaffirmation of Meghan's belief in curated autonomy for her children. Hours after the palace's December 28th announcement, a legal representative for the Sussexes delivered a 3-page response to Buckingham Palace. The document, described as non-conciliatory, included an accusation that the palace was emotionally blackmailing a mother over private family footage, a warning that any formal move to revoke the children's princely titles would result in global reputational damage to the monarchy, and an assertion that Meghan and Harry were within their rights to shape their children's digital presence on their own terms. But perhaps most telling was the final paragraph, reportedly written in Meghan's own words: "We will not let our children be erased to preserve the illusion of a perfect crown." The emotional temperature within the royal family reached a boiling point. Prince William, who had remained largely silent on Sussex matters in recent months, authorized the release of a private advisory written in March 2024 and addressed to the king. In it, William reportedly warned, "Their campaign to weaponize privacy while simultaneously branding innocence will come to a head. It will not end in reconciliation. It will end in exposure." King Charles, meanwhile, is said to be heartbroken but resolute. Palace insiders say this was the final straw. The king, once hopeful of restoring ties with his second son, now believes the children's image is being negotiated in the media, not protected in law. On the morning of December 27, 2025, the Lord Chancellor's office quietly submitted a signed advisory document to the king and the Prince Regent. The recommendation, formally delimit the legal and symbolic status of Master Archie and Miss Lilibet Mountbatten-Windsor within the royal framework. By midday, it was done. The legal language was sharp, precise, and designed for permanence. Effective immediately, Archie and Lilibet retain their lineage but hold no active standing within the House of Windsor. All titles, Prince and Princess of the United Kingdom, are legally dormant, a constitutional term meaning they exist in record but carry no rights, privileges, or entitlements. They are excluded from the Crown Estate's generational inheritance provisions unless a future monarch reverses the decree. The break was no longer symbolic, it was legal, and it was final. In a private audience held at Windsor Castle that afternoon, King Charles III, visibly emotional, is said to have told his advisors, "I will never stop loving them as my grandchildren, but the institution cannot raise what it cannot reach, and it cannot protect what it cannot trust." Prince William added in a prepared statement to the Privy Council, "This is not an act of punishment, it is an act of prevention. For them, for us, for the monarchy, we are not closing a door, we are drawing a boundary." The palace confirmed that both children are now ineligible for future hereditary dukedoms, removed from pre-drafted ceremonial participation in future coronations, and disqualified from receiving sovereign grants or ceremonial funding. Behind these exclusions is a deeper concern. That inheritance, both financial and symbolic, was at risk of becoming a bargaining chip dangled in media or courtrooms. By taking the issue off the table, the monarchy eliminated a weapon before it could be used. Within hours, a Sussex spokesperson issued a defiant reply from their Montecito office. "This decision reflects the monarchy's obsession with control, not care. Our children are not leverage, they are not products, they are ours. We will raise them in truth, with love, and far from the shadows of a throne that cannot see them." But the palace saw things very differently. What's truly at stake here isn't money or titles, it's legacy. Archie, now 6, and Lilibet 4 are growing up in a paradox, globally recognized, constitutionally erased, neither fully royal nor fully private. Instead, they occupy a strange, curated middle ground where every blurred image, withheld photo, or viral clip becomes part of an unfolding tension between family, fame, and the fading thread of duty. As of December 29, 2025, the palace released one final statement, signed by His Majesty King Charles III and countersigned by Prince William, Prince Regent. No grandparent relishes issuing boundaries against the presence of their grandchildren. But in the face of sustained circumvention, intentional obscurity, and the risk of inherited obligation being manipulated as public theater, the Crown must stand for stability. It carries the weight of heartbreak, but also resolution. By severing institutional ties, the Sussex children lose any future entitlement to titles, ceremonial roles, security provisions, eligibility for royal wedding procession protocols, state funerals, jubilee participation, and access to royal residences, estates, or trust assets. But they retain their place in the line of succession unless a future legislative act removes them, their British citizenship, and their symbolic connection to a global family name, though one they will never publicly bear in full. More crucially, they inherit something far more modern, a brand legacy constructed not by the Crown, but by Meghan Markle. For the first time in modern history, 2 royal children will have no official visual record within the royal family's historical canon, no official birthday portraits, no christening footage, no balcony wave. It is the institutional equivalent of a missing chapter. Palace advisors have now instructed the royal archives to classify all records, photos, and correspondences related to Archie and Lilibet as suspended records, documents that may not be included in future coronation retrospectives or generational reviews unless formally restored by a reigning monarch. By the time Archie turns 18, the world may have changed again. Monarchies may have evolved or waned, but the story he and Lilibet will inherit will not come from golden-framed portraits or velvet-draped ceremonies. The Windsor legacy they were born into has now forked into two paths, one shaped by tradition, discipline, and enduring symbolism, the other by autonomy, narrative control, and curated distance. And the question now is, when they come of age, which path will they walk toward? For King Charles, this may be the most intimate cost of his reign. Not scandal, not succession, but the quiet realization that his son's children will grow up without knowing what it means to stand beneath the banner of duty, that they may one day see their lineage not as legacy, but as content. For the public, it is the closing of a once hopeful chapter. The dream of reconciliation, the image of George, Charlotte, Louis, Archie, and Lilibet standing side by side as a new generation of unity, is over. Not by decree, not by scandal, but by choice.